poverty or in perpetual conflict areas or fragile countries, or they are living in conditions of malnutrition and disease. So this is a very good indicator to tell you what's going on. And as you can see, whereas in developed countries, under 5 mortality rate is between 7 and 10, meaning out of 1,000 children, only 7 or 10 will die before the age of 5 years. Whereas in many countries of the world, the number of children who do not see the 5th birthday is as high as 129 in most parts of sub-Saharan Africa. Within sub-Saharan Africa, if you further zoom down, Sierra Leone is amongst the highest. South Africa is slightly better. Namibia is better. Botswana is better. But then you look at Somalia, Uganda, the levels are very high. Parts of particularly countries which are very seriously affected by constant conflict, particularly DRC, Somalia, there the rates are very, very high. This gives you an idea of LDCs, where although the target is 60, still only 129 is the U5MR, which means you have a long way to go. Sorry. Now, what is important is that it's unequal. It's not the same throughout. So, if you see in any society, higher the inequities, higher will be the mortality. So, even within this country, if you take certain parts of this country where inequities are higher, the policies do not reach all the families and all the households, there are more poorer people, there the under 5 mortality rate is bound to be higher or even sometimes increases. Maternal deaths. It's one of the worst curses of 21st century that even today women have to die while giving birth to another life. So imagine a mother dying, just creating life. She creates life, and very often if she dies, even that life she has given birth to, or the purpose for which she became pregnant, even that itself becomes a waste, because even that child dies because the child doesn't get the adequate nutrition, adequate care, and adequate attention in the family. So the act of childbirth is itself a very big risk, and within that risk, just because of simple issues such as the families and the system not knowing when to care for her in the right way, the pregnant mother can end up as a statistic and end up dying. As of today, something every year close to 400,000 women die in childbirth, and almost a quarter of them are in South Asia, mainly because of the size of certain countries, although sub-Saharan Africa again has the highest rates in terms of the number of pregnant women versus number of pregnant women dying. The rates are obviously highest in sub-Saharan Africa. Why does it happen? It happens because the number of women getting attention during their pregnancy is very low. We know that every woman should be seen by a medical professional at least 4 times during pregnancy. And during those 4 times, they get the shots, they get advice on taking the right vitamins, right nutrients, right iron, and so on. And they also get advice on where and how they need to care for themselves during the last few months of pregnancy, meaning if there is bleeding, they need to rush within 2 hours. If they get pain, they need to rush, and so on and so forth. And in many parts of the world, they can't even rush because there is no facility. And even if there is a facility, there is no doctor. Even if there is a doctor, there is no medicine. So that's why we still have unacceptable levels of pregnant women still dying. One of the issues which is relevant for your part of the world, meaning United States, and particularly in several communities, is teenage pregnancy. Teenage pregnancy is a known risk for maternal morbidity and maternal mortality. So we know that a woman's womb is ready to take on the additional load of bringing a baby only after the womb becomes physically and hormonally mature enough. That happens about 18 years or after. And if you just look around how many young girls become pregnant much earlier. And those are the people who are likely to face more problems in terms of being sick longer, and also some of them may, if they don't get the right attention and in time, they can die. And the same thing happens in many countries in the world. There are younger people becoming pregnant and they don't have access to medical care, medical assistance, and they die early. So one of the issues is to ensure that there is skilled attendance at the time of delivery. HIV/AIDS, Rosalind has already talked about. The only thing I would say is we still, every country after country, there is still inadequate knowledge of HIV, particularly amongst young people. It may be true that we may be, by focusing on young people, we may be missing older generations, but it is the young people who are in the reproductive age group, and they are the ones who are likely to be adopting unsafe behaviors which can cause higher risk to HIV infection. Not only HIV infection, other sexually transmitted diseases. If somebody has a sexually transmitted disease, that person almost immediately has a double risk for HIV, because already the genital parts are exposed to certain germs, and another germ like a virus of HIV can, if the person has a chance to get exposed to, has a higher chance of that person getting infected. So that is one part that is there about young people, whether in terms of the behaviors they are exposed to versus the behaviors they are learning as being safe or unsafe. That information is still inadequate, or if it is adequate, they are still not adopting the right behaviors. So that is happening throughout the world, and that is part of the reason why HIV is still becoming amongst the leading causes of death, particularly in certain countries. One good thing that has happened in recent years is that the ARVs, or the drugs that were that came into being in the last 4 or 5 years, they have become cheaper. It's become accessible to many communities, and people can be given antiretroviral drugs for a longer time, with the hope that they become better and can cure themselves of HIV, and can also not transmit the disease to others if they come in sexually contact with each other. The other issue is about water. New York, all of us, we know the water in the taps is very safe, but still we use bottled water. Imagine many countries, many children like you living in other parts of the world, where the only water they may ever get in contact with is really dirty water, very unsafe, having a lot of bacteria, viruses, and also organic and inorganic impurities which are unsafe for themselves. So this slide gives you the proportion of families who have piped water, and you see each bar is a region, and you see on one side 1990 and the other side is 2008. So you see that the piped water on the premises in their own houses is still very low in many parts of the world, South Asia, Africa, and even Central Asia. In East Asia, West Asia, the numbers have increased. Piped water has gone up. However, there still are the blue and the top one, that is the orange. It gives you a sense of how much improvement still needs to be done. The orange is completely unimproved resources. It's not, I mean, we are not even there in terms of aiming for giving piped water supply to many communities. We are only talking about improving their existing water supply to something better than what they have today. It's not even anywhere close to the water that we manage to drink here. So even in those terms, there are millions of families still having to drink unsafe water. The other issue is open defecation. Close to 1.1 billion people in the world still use open fields for their latrines. Imagine how unsafe it is for themselves, because that's where they live, and how unethical, and in many ways in today's world, when we are sitting and working with gadgets, with SMS and whatnot, there still are families who don't have a small pit latrine where they can go for their latrine and flush after that. So there is a complete inequity in the way we develop, where there are families which are still having to take to open defecation because they just don't have any other means. And in terms of human rights, in terms of their dignity, it is the worst that others can be doing if we still allow them to continue like that. We need to work together to see how best their knowledge and ability to acquire safer means of sanitation is acquired, and they start using that. So this gives you similar figures, particularly least developed countries. The use of improved sanitation is, even in rural areas, is about 31%. In urban areas, only 50%. Whereas in water, it's a little better, close to 80% of families in urban areas and 54% in rural areas have improved drinking water for themselves. I'll stop here. Let me give you a final couple of suggestions in terms of practically how you might like to use this information for your work and your life beyond. There is, as you come up the elevators, you may have seen there is something called a DEFCON conference that's going on. It's about using technology and modern science for better development. In recent times, children like you took to using SMS as a methodology to help identify malnourished children and get them faster access to better food and attention. This happened through a set of kids from this very university, as well as from Colombia, who went and did some internship in Malawi and certain other parts of Ghana. So they went to work in areas which were having high levels of malnutrition, and they tried to go to different villages, look for undernourished children, give the numbers back to the central place, and that way it was possible to find out in real time how many children are malnourished, where are they located, and therefore reach services for them and start planning for them. So likewise, issues like if you have to get better vaccination rates or better control during cholera, many of the technologies of today that we use for chatting with each other can be used to get information fast from a village which has absolutely no means of communication otherwise, because SMS technology is becoming very rampant, and still there will be, even in the same village, a lot of poorer households. And even those very households which may have a mobile phone may not know that this can be used for other means of communicating with authorities to get help. So that's one particular example. Another example is about maternal death. In Bangladesh, for example, they have used the mobile phones to inform the hospital about a mother who has suddenly had some kind of a complication while she is having pregnancy. So if the hospital is called in advance and informed that such and such person with this is the problem, and this is our blood group and so. We have just started, left the village, we should be there in about 1.5 to 2 hours. Then the hospital starts preparing itself. Maybe they need to send a call to the doctor who may be living another half hour away from the hospital, so the doctor can come on time. So cutting down delays of care by using just a mobile phone as an example. Increasingly, databases and GPS-based services are used to identify the problem areas and look at budgets and allocations and plans so that things can get better. So there are many things that we use almost by default for our everyday, day-to-day work. If it can be channelized for development, there's a world of difference that you can make for communities there. So think of those opportunities when you grow up and have opportunities to work with communities like that. Use your knowledge and awareness of technology for bringing about change in some of these statistics. I'll stop here and maybe we can take some questions. Okay? Yes.
Does the UN foresee a day where there will be an abundant supply of potable water available for masses? From the UN?
No. Potable water from where?
Okay. Will there be an abundance of clean water for the masses? Because you're talking about malnutrition areas. You're saying that there was an abundance of the clean water, however, it just wasn't available for underprivileged areas. Does the UN foresee a day that will actually be prevalent, or that'll actually come to?
Okay. First, let me say something about UN. The myth. UN is not something out there. It's all of us. First, if you look at the UN Charter, it starts with we the peoples. Okay, so all of us are UN. So UN will have the same knowledge that all of us together can bring into the UN. The reality is, unless technologically some major shifts are seen, water, groundwater and drinking water is continuously depleting, and as we speak, there is in the Horn of Africa, there is Somalia, Eritrea, Djibouti, Kenya, there is a severe drought with major problems of crops failure and populations moving out of these areas as refugees to neighboring countries, creating a lot of tension, creating a lot of civil strife and even possible conflicts in those regions. Water is never endless. The only thing that we can say is, if technologies for converting seawater into drinking water become more affordable, and if there is better methodologies and cheaper or usable methodologies for conservation of water and recycling water for other use. For example, water that we use in kitchen, that we use for washing, can be recycled. It is being done in certain countries through their regular water supply systems. It's not done in many parts of many countries, but there are a few